So, as mentioned before, housing is a big issue for some of the offenders that are being released to date. Housing always has presented a problem for ex offenders returning into the communities, even though there are funded housing opportunities. Some may not, some may not qualify to actually get into the program, or there not be enough space for the ex offender to actually get into. And unfortunately, too, some communities do not have the resources available or the funding to have these types of houses where the offender can actually go to. And also depends too on their crime, if they're eligible to actually live in some of these low, income housing. Another thing is too is they can go into, let's say there's apartments or anything like that available through, let's say, Section 8 or low income housing. An offender can apply just like you or I can, but because they have a criminal record, this times poses issues where a lot of the offenders are being rejected because of their criminal background record. Not saying that they're going to reoffend again, just because that they have that felony charge on them, on their record once it's looked at, and unfortunately they can be turned away, and a majority of them are turned away. And then this is when we see like a high increase of individuals becoming homeless because of this. A lot of old offenders too, who have committed, not one, not two, but three or four crimes, becoming in and out of the system. We see a lot of these older offenders who are actually, are homeless because of this. So, at this point, I mean, the housing issue is a big thing. Once they're released from prison, is where they're going to go. How are the communities going to have these resources for them? How are they going to provide for themselves? And this is when we get into, employment and finances come into play. So ex-offenders may be at greater risk for being both income and asset poor than any other population. Aiding in trying to help them have gainful employment upon release, honestly, is one of the most significant detriments for them being incarcerated. And this is a huge issue that's been going on. And this is another barrier is, how they're going to get a job, how are they going to provide for themselves? They don't know this, and I don't think a lot of us have the answer too. They're not being provided the resources that they actually need to leave prison and live successful lives. The labor market itself poses barriers for them. Offenders usually, unfortunately, they have significant deficits and challenges in addition to their prison record and experiences that they've had. So if some of them have been in prison since they were 18 years old, some of them haven't even had any jobs before that. I mean, their job, unfortunately, was, something minute or whatnot, or they've literally been committing crimes to help pay for things. They get in, they're from low socioeconomic areas. This is all they know, and this is how they're surviving with their life. And even then, it should start young, things should start, at times when they're younger. If some of them have been in juvie, they should have resources there for these guys and these kids who are having these issues with, any type of education issues or trying to figure out like what they're going to do with themselves. And we can stop this now. So prison record and experiences play a huge role in the labor market now. In a recent survey that was completed in 2005 from a prison from Maryland, it said that it was a survey given to prisoners who had left during that year, and they were sent out to them if they could find them. Between 30 and 60% of them did state that they expected difficulties along the way. That's a huge percentage of people who say that they're having these significant issues and that are anticipating struggles upon release. Prior to incarceration, these same individuals in the survey, they looked at educational background and work experience and how they're going to land a good paying job. And majority of them, other prisoners, would need assistance and things like that. They didn't have all this resources, and some of them did lack, unfortunately, even a high school diploma. I mean, in prison you can get GEDs and can take, college courses, but it's the motivation that you need to do it, and sometimes they just get stuck at where they are and they don't want to move forward with themselves. A majority of them would need assistance from family members and friends and social service agencies upon release, and this also poses barriers. Prisoners are more often returned home, like as mentioned before, where there's high crime rates and the job market is very limited for them. Many times upon release from prisons, they have few financial resources, right? And studies have shown that upon release, many do live and rely, unfortunately, financially on family members. This is because of a lack of employment opportunities and financial challenges, and it does not only just impact that person, but also family, friends, and also the communities as well. If they do find employment, it is usually in industries like the Gap warehouse that we have around here. There's other, a Target warehouse, CNS, things like that, big warehouses where there's actually little skills needed or required. Research has also indicated that there's a lack of educational attainment from these prisoners, like I said before, in work experience, which has made reintegration into the community after prison and, complying with parole and probation requirements very difficult for the offender. Offenders then at times will return to criminal activity, either to, because, it's the only thing they can do at this time to survive for themselves and to actually help out for families too if they're going back home to if they have children, if they have a spouse or a partner or whatever. This is the alternative. They have no other alternative. This is the lifestyle that they're used to, and it's important for them to see that this isn't the only way, and this is why this is such a big barrier. Stigma also plays a huge part in the barriers to reintegration among the incarcerated. Social stigma, which is it can impact the offender's ability to secure and maintain employment. There's state and federal stigma against them, which limits the opportunities for the offender. So state and federal regulations and even county regulations that we have in place can hinder them from, getting jobs, getting houses, even if they have some type of educational background, if they have certificates that they've received or vocational, they still can't get these jobs because of their offense. More than likely, the desired employment, they're denied employment because of the background checks that are done, like we all have to do, the fingerprints, your crime show, it shows that you have an offense, and, more than likely you're not going to be able to get that job that you may want. This can then, impose self-stigma, which leads to internalization of, issues that are going on. It also, feelings associated with being, less than, and then starting to feel hopeless about things, which then poses low self-esteem, low motivation to do anything. And then also in turn, we see this all happen, and then this is when other health issues come out. There's the mental health issues that come out with stress and depression. There's so many other things that can happen at this point, and it's really unfortunate at this time.